dental health is a super important topic because I think so many people put that secondary to our own health, but it's all connected. And a lot of the times when we have tooth decay or we don't take good care of our teeth and just our general dental health, it causes other issues in our body. So it's super important to make sure that we're taking good care of our oral hygiene, making sure we're brushing our teeth properly, the right amount of times a day, making sure we're flossing, making sure we're eating proper foods as well. So I know, especially for women, there's a lot of focus on calcium-rich foods because of preventing osteoporosis and osteopenia, and that all has to do with our bones. Teeth are also actually bones. And so calcium-rich foods are also very good for our dental health, our oral health, and very important to make sure we're getting enough in our diet. Another thing to know about calcium, specifically in dairy foods, not as much in other sources of calcium, and I'm going to be doing a recipe soon using broccoli, which is a great source of calcium, but dairy foods, we don't want having too much dairy, especially as women. Premenopausal women specifically, because when we have too much calcium, it actually inhibits the absorption of iron, which is another very important nutrient for everybody, especially for women. So we don't have too much calcium. We try not to have iron and calcium together because it definitely does inhibit that. So we want to make sure that we're having those amounts of calcium, but not overdoing it. And that's more specifically with like having so much milk in a day. I'm not saying like 1 or even 2 glasses of milk is a problem. I'm saying like having 5 glasses of milk a day is a problem. And then also taking supplements. So that's something we want to make sure of. I always say it's better to get your sources from food than from supplements if that's an option. Obviously, if you can't have certain food items that are high in those nutrients, then speak to your doctor about supplements, but specifically calcium supplements can definitely cause the inhibition of the absorption of our irons. And so we want to make sure that we're not getting too much to inhibit that because we need stores of everything.
I'm actually cooking a spaghetti squash, and as you see, I've put it in the oven. I will be honest, it was very tough to cut in half. Ariel did give me a suggestion about putting it in the microwave for a few minutes before, so it makes it a little bit easier to roast. But I'm going to make the skinny bolognese. I'm going to put some onions in. We're going to do a chicken bolognese. I'm going to put some fresh garlic. I'm going to put like a little bit like. I'm going to get it going. I'm going to put some black pepper in. So it's basically going, mine gets going on and get my chicken. So I have a ground chicken, vegan chicken today. So we're going to stick that in. Right, so my sister-in-law bought me this whole another gadget. They're not very expensive. They range from around $5 to $8 on Amazon. And it actually helps you, sometimes it gets a little lumpy. You're using ground chicken or turkey. So this kind of helps it break down. So while this is like cooking up a little bit, I'm gonna open up. Remember always to wash your hands, okay? Because they've been in the shops, they're down in the basement, you never know. So I'm gonna open this ready. So when we're ready to start. In addition to me making this sauce, I hide vegetables in my sauce. Like I've got some fresh spinach today and I've got some peas, and another one of my favorites is parsley, fresh parsley. I'm going to be using them as well. But I have to let that cook. So I'll leave that ready, open. Smash this one more time. But it's also has to be fully cooked. So I'll let that cook up a little bit more. All right, so while that's cooking, this is my spaghetti squash. I put it in the oven at 400 and I cooked it probably for about 35 minutes. It was pretty big. So as you see how it comes almost like a spaghetti. It's like really good. I've done a zucchini spaghetti before, but you can keep it like in your bowl like that. Scrape it all up and then put your bolognese on top of it after you've got everything done, or you can just put the spaghetti bar in a bowl, which I can do here.
That really has a lovely flavor too. It's like if you're not the biggest fan of squash, that is a little bit of a mellow one, I think.
Yeah.
Neutral. It's very neutral,
yeah,
in
yeah.
taste, and flavor.
Oh,
Really good.
I made a bolognese earlier this morning. I do have it on. I just did this on the, I'm just doing this on the, you can also do a vegetable.
So good.
If you want to do a mushroom or something like that, you absolutely can.
Gorgeous.
Okay, I left this one in the shelf. And the water of the week is a blueberry. I did a
Oh,
blueberry.
it's beautiful. Love that. The colors of those two together are just
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, I
really
think
perfect.
Yeah.
Really nice. So I am doing a recipe with broccoli and I absolutely love raw broccoli. Some people can't tolerate it, but what I love about this recipe is that this softens this up and you can make this ahead of time. And you can leave this in your fridge for like 3 days and it just gets softer with the dressing, but it's still like edible. It's not like putting it on dressing where it's not going to be edible. And I just love it. Raw broccoli, you will get the most amount of nutrients. So you get the most bang for your buck, as I like to say it, in terms of nutrients, because you're not cooking anything off. When we do cook broccoli, you're still getting nutrients, but you are cooking off some of those nutrients. Definitely okay to eat raw broccoli. Some people, it definitely causes some indigestion, but again, when you do put some sort of dressing or some sort of marinade on it, it kind of softens it a bit and it allows for easier digestion. So I have my bowl of broccoli. You want to just cut little florets off of the bigger stalks. I'm going to put my bowl aside. We have some other toppings we'll do, but first I'm going to do our marinade or our dressing. So we're going to do some olive oil. It's going to be about like 1/4 cup of olive oil, not so much more than that. The next thing we're going to do is some apple cider vinegar, which actually I had on that one, but anyways, you're going to use some apple cider vinegar, about 2 tablespoons. I'm eyeballing, but about 2 tablespoons. And again, you can always add, but you can't take away. I know Sam likes to say that a lot, which is very true. You can't take away. So just keep that in mind. Then we're going to do about 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, which just exploded everywhere. But we're going to do about 1 tablespoon of that. I wouldn't use anything other than Dijon. Speaking of neutral in taste, mustard's obviously strong. It's not going to be that neutral, but relatively speaking, it's going to be the most neutral of the mustards. And it just gives like a nice kick without kind of overdoing it. And then we're going to just use some salt and pepper. A little bit of salt. I don't like to use too much salt, but a little bit it needs, and then some pepper. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix all that up and whisk it. You can mix it. You don't need too much. And by the way, even if it's not going to like fully cover the broccoli, it seeps into it eventually. And so you don't want it to be too much because then it ends up being too salty almost, but you want it to be a good. Then before we put our dressing on, we're going to do the rest of our toppings for the salad. So we have our broccoli. We have 1/4 of a red or purple onion cut very small. I don't love red onion, so I don't do too much of it, but it definitely adds a nice flavor to the broccoli salad.
If you have it diced
a little
really small, it's not going to be like big chunks of
exactly,
it
it's
either.
not super powering. Then you add a little bit of dried cranberries. I've also done it with dried cherries, and it's delicious too. The original recipe uses sunflower seeds, but just being in the fall zone, I'm going to use pumpkin seeds instead. So I have some pumpkin seeds that we're going to put over it. And then the original recipe actually calls for shredded cheddar cheese on top. I don't love that. And I kind of find it a little bit random. That's like the only word I can use for that. But you can add that if you're looking to add like a little bit of protein there. Then I'm going to mix this a little bit more again. Now I'm going to take a glove because the best way, kind of like massaging the kale, you want to massage the broccoli also because it's tough. It's a harder, they call it a cruciferous vegetable. And there's a ton of fiber in there and we kind of want to break through that. Don't overdo it with the dressing at first because we don't want it to be too overpowering, but we're going to go in there with our, you can use your hands if you want, but I prefer to use gloves. And we're going to go like this. And then you can eat it right away, but it's actually best to wait a few hours for it to sink in, all of the flavors to kind of go together, kind of blend with each other. And that is it. It is seriously so delicious. I'm not even just saying it. It's one of my favorite things. Whenever I make it, and I make it pretty often, I snack on it during the day. And it's just super delicious. It's filling and it's a great side for anything. It's a great side also for a Thanksgiving meal.
Mhm.
Super easy to make. You can make it in advance, which is always one of my favorite things to do. Have recipes that you can make in advance.